I do not come from a political family. I did not have a political bone in my body. However, I am a mom and I love children and I love families and community. And I was seeing in 2016, 2017, 2020, all those years, sort of breaking down of communities and families being torn apart because of politics. And I just think that the ties that should be the strongest are our families and communities. And so I started looking around thinking, what is happening and when did politics become so divisive? And then something happened. We started seeing publicly the separation of children from their parents at the southern border. And I was just gutted as a mother. I kept thinking, that could be my child, or that could be my nieces, my nephews, or my neighbors' kids. And I thought, where are the people that are willing and courageous enough to stand up and say, no more, this isn't right? And I dug into it. And I saw that this wasn't just done under the then current administration, which was President Trump's first term, but it was also done under the Obama administration, but it wasn't done in such a cruel, what I thought was a cruel way. And so I remember sort of having tears in my eyes and thinking, oh my gosh, this is so much bigger than one person. What could one person possibly do? And I always tell people, be careful what you ask for, be careful what you say, because things are going to come fast, right? And within 2 weeks, through the company that I was running, I was contacted by Customs and Border Patrol to go down to the southern border in Arizona. And the work I do was around compassionate leadership. And I was really concerned about people dehumanizing the people that were in front of them, because sometimes when you're asked to do things that might even go against your moral code or your values, the way you get through that is to dehumanize the people on the other side. And I was really concerned about that happening. So I was really excited that I was asked to go down there. I had worked with them before around this sort of compassionate leadership, balancing the leadership with never stripping out the humanity in the crisis situations. And so I went down and had a very good experience with those agents and leadership on the border. So I thought, oh, that was the answer. And then we fast forward a couple of months and we had the summer of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. And like my hair was on fire. And again, as a mother, seeing a man in his last few breaths of life calling out for his mother, I don't know how anybody looked at that and thought that was okay. That in this day and age, that we are still seeing things like that. And again, I ask myself, what can we do about this? How do we stop this? How do we have accountability? How do we stop this slide into what is becoming a really, really difficult way of living, of being? And um, I say that acknowledging that sometimes things have to be destroyed, sometimes systems and structures have to be broken, but I do care about how we do it. And so asking the question again, and then within a week, a dear colleague of mine who lived in that area asked me to work with local leaders to help them after the murder of George Floyd through the trial of the police officer that had killed him. So we were trying to help people kind of recover and heal and begin to lead the community again. So I thought, oh, I'm done. And then I thought, okay, that's it. And then January 6th happened. So you can see this happened over time. It wasn't like I woke up one day and it was like, boom, I'm running. But when January 6th happened and I asked, where are the people? And I didn't even finish the sentence. It was, maybe I'm somebody I'm looking, maybe I'm the person I'm looking for. And I started calling around to see what it meant. I didn't know anything about running and what it took and what was required. So I started calling around and asking people who I knew were politically active, and I had questions. What was it like for a woman? What was it like for a parent? What was it like for a person of color? What did all these things How do they all play into this? And then, as you know, I ultimately ran and won.